I'll just open this up. I don't have much to say since our last time we spoke, since we haven't played. So whatever you guys got.
I think this is the first maybe real up-tempo offense your young defense is going to face at least this year. Cal ran a lot of plays, obviously, but what kind of challenges does that present for a young defense like you're getting?
Yeah, it can be, and I think Cal's an up-tempo offense. I think USC has a little more formations, so that can make it a little more challenging when they're getting lined up quickly. But you know, our defense has seen it for quite a while in terms of practice, and we've worked on those things. Now, games are always a little bit different, so that will be another element. You know, the first element being the really good players that they have over there, and then you know, they do a great job with their schemes, executing, and then you throw in a little tempo and stuff. It's a big challenge.
Stanford do well against them, but maybe Arizona State.
Yeah, you know, I think one thing is they kind of weathered the storm. You know, they hung in there with them. They got behind, but then they scored and they kind of answered, and you know, it just didn't get away from them. I mean, Arizona State, you know, by halftime that was just a tough situation. They just had the big fumble return and then fumble the kickoff, and then you know the momentum just whoo. So I think you know Stanford just they kept it close and kept battling. And we're able to do that now. Credit to Stanford to be able to do that.
Like what you saw here in the 2013 opener.
Yeah, they have you know some of the similar concepts, some of the similar plays. I think they're doing a little bit more. They have some two-back concepts as well as not just all spread, and so there's a lot of variety there.
First road game since the opener. Where would you say you've seen the biggest growth? You know, in terms of his passing specifics from that first game.
Yeah, you know, I think there's certain things that he's pretty dialed in, certain plays, certain concepts that we run. He's probably more dialed into and feels good with. But you know, as we go through this, we keep adding kind of more to his plate, and so that's a process of this whole year. You know, there's certain things that we're trying to give more reps with because he hasn't had them a whole lot. And so, again, it's that fine balance between, you know, flooding him, overloading him, and still being able to scheme things how we'd like to.
In your experience, Chris, is there a lot of value a guy in Jake's position can take from learning at Boise in the hostile environment and noise and everything else?
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, I think noise is the big thing. I think noise is really the big thing. That's a hard thing to deal with when it's really, really loud at all times. And you know, Boise was a good introduction to that because they get pretty loud there. And but we practice a lot with that. You know, it's part of our practice even when we're at home. You know, we put noise on, music on, all those things. And you know, I think half the time the kids think I'm doing that to energize them and fire them up. I'm really doing it so they can't hear. And I think that helps us in the long run.
Scout things like the clapping and some of those things to kind of negate the noise factor. Have you found that that's been fairly successful in terms of eliminating false starts?
Yeah, I think the big thing is being able to hear. Like, what's the best way to do that? Well, a silent count is probably the best way because you don't have to hear anything. But I think there's, you know, like everything, there's always a trade-off. There's no like perfect thing. There's no perfect plays. There's no they can always answer. You know, when you're going on a silent count, one of the linemen is going to see things at the last second. You know, in our opinion, we got a couple different things we can do as well, but the clap has worked pretty well for us, just in terms of guys being able to keep their eyes up and still hear.
At this point in the season, with this very young, kind of dynamic, changing offensive line, what have you seen that you liked, and what are some things you're kind of focusing on now? You're getting ready for USC. Obviously, you're in this very challenging period to make sure that line can be successful.
Yeah, and it is challenging. But I'll tell you, I mean, I think we see maybe more flashes of what it should look like, and really good at times. Probably like fundamentally based, you know, like, I mean, just playing low and with a flat back and hands inside and all these things that really good linemen look like. You start to see that a little bit more. There's still, there's still inconsistencies because they're still learning a lot. But I think some of the stuff they're figuring out and being able to play faster. I think some of it is, they're able to delve into the detail of a little bit more. Sometimes they almost don't know what they don't know, so you just go. And now they're starting to figure out, okay, this guy could actually go one of two ways. He could bull rush me. He could do all these things. And so now they're kind of coming to grips with, the more you learn, you're almost thinking, how did I do this before?
The playing together chemistry part, making a little bit of progress?
I think we're making a little bit because I think guys are figuring out their assignments better. I think it first has to start, with us just knowing our assignments. I mean, that's where we are. And then being able to fit blocks together, that's part B. And I think on certain, again, I think it's sporadic. And I think the goal is just to see it, become more consistent, not so sporadic.
Some more shuffling there on the line as maybe a couple of those older guys get healthier?
Yeah. I think Coach Strauss always does a pretty good job in practice to move guys. And, like I said, I mean, we've already experienced this year where we had to throw Coleman in the left guard and really hadn't done much. So I even see him doing a little bit more of that as this season starts to go on. Those guys just get banged up.
Coach Smith mentioned that maybe you guys could have been a little more, I think stubborn was his word, with the running game against Cal. How difficult is that as a play caller when you get behind and you know that the run game's working, but maybe you're tempted to call more passes because of what the scoreboard says?
Yeah, I always think hindsight's 20/20. Certainly as a play caller. I mean, I think there's certain things you're always analyzing. What could I have done better to help us? And I think it was working. See, the problem with the run game is it can be working, but you can be 0-1, 7-0-1, and when you're behind and taking 1 yard gains and a little bit of that's hard that mentality. But we were running the ball pretty good, and I think that takes pressure off the quarterback.
Going forward, is that stubbornness something that you'd like to stick to?
Yeah, I think we'd like to stay balanced if we can. But I think a lot of it depends on the opponent we're playing, and can we legitimately run the balls? That gives us our best chance to move the ball, or can we pass protect them? Or I don't think it's just that easy to say this is what we're going to do. Period. I think we got to try to give our kids a chance. Like, what do we think gives them the most chance to be successful?
With Dwayne getting over the 100-yard mark even on just 10 carries, I mean, do you feel like, I don't know, he cleared any sort of hurdle, or is that just nice for you to obviously see him kind of break through a little bit in that regard?
Yeah, I think I think confidence. I think that's important. I think we know Dwayne can do some things if we give him a chance. I think that just kind of confirms that. And if we can keep him healthy, and like I said, it's always such a pounding position. If we can keep him healthy, that line keeps developing.
His skill set, just in terms of pass catching and what he adds in that dimension.
Yeah. It is unique. I mean, that's probably the right way. I mean, last year, I was a little surprised because I thought we dropped too many balls, easy throws, for a guy that actually catches the ball pretty well. And I think this year we're really seeing he's caught the ball, obviously you guys know, really, really well, whether it's down the middle, little flare screens, those type of things. And so that's nice. And that's kind of what we expected out of him. And that fits his skill set, to get him out in space. If we can make one guy miss, he can run.
You get a marquee game on a Thursday night in Los Angeles. How big a recruiting tool is that for your program?
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of eyes on, and so you really want to go down there and put your best foot forward. And I think the players are always excited to play in that situation and compete hard. And a lot of guys come from California and Southern California, and so we'll stay down there ourselves and recruit a little bit after and all those type of things. So it's important.
To follow up to that, Chris, you've got a lot of guys who were recruited by that staff, and because of the schedule, how it's worked out, you got a lot of guys who have never experienced nor seen USC. Do you coach to any of that, or is it just, hey, this is the next team we play?
Well, I think it's always the next team we play. Now, the next team we play always has different challenges, and this one has as many as anybody that we've played, and maybe we'll play all year. I think this is definitely one of the elite teams in our conference, without question. I think I always chuckle at the rankings and the ratings this early. I mean, I know this team is completely underrated in terms of rankings. So that's why that never means anything to me. I mean, they have tremendous talent. They're doing a great job coaching them. I mean, those kids show up, and they built some depth through the young guys that they're playing. This is a really good team.
Still a mystique about USC? Has that not changed? Or
well, I don't know what the mystique is. You look at the tape, and to me, you know, mystique, I think maybe there's like something not real about it. I look at that tape, and you're going, okay, that's USC. They usually have some pretty good players, and these guys have some special guys.
In your experience, Chris, when you have a team that's going up maybe against a former coach or against guys that had recruited them and things like that, how much maybe does that emotional aspect of it fade once the game starts? Is it just maybe a series or two and then you get into it?
I think. I mean, we kind of, you know, went through it ourselves on the other side. And, you know, when you go out there and play, it's about, you know, blocking and tackling and catching. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it has nothing to do with all that other stuff. I think a lot of times if there's stuff made out of it, it's pregame hype that really doesn't have a whole heck of a lot to do once the game's played.
Your experience, expanding on that with players, that at the player level, preparation level, and then of course in the game, that it is, as you say, kind of somewhat over-talked, overhyped a little bit.
I think it is. You know, I think the big thing is playing against USC and the players they have. I mean, a lot of our players know those guys, know of them, know them personally, some of them. You know, they're the top players in, you know, Southern California. Some of these guys are top players in the country. And so, you know, our guys know those guys.
How did you spend your Saturday? Were you able to watch any football? Or?
We got back from recruiting on Friday. So we all rolled in here on Saturday and did some more football, and then saw some football in the evening time.
How did those ratings work out on Saturday that you talked about?
The ratings? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess it's, I don't know if it's, you know, I guess it's good for college football. I mean, from a coaching standpoint, I know we just kind of shake our head. I mean, just so many things just change, and, you know, it's all about a body of work, and where'd this team come from out of nowhere? And it's like, what do you mean? You know, I mean, this team's gotten a lot better. This team had these guys coming back. Sometimes teams don't meet expectations. You know, it's just, you got to play at least a half a season, and then you probably have a decent idea, really, of who's what.
On the business of playing the former coach who recruited them, did you learn anything from the Boise State experience going back to help your players manage their emotions against the coach that recruited them in terms of being overamped?
No, I don't think so. I think the Boise State guys played pretty darn good. You know, I thought they were pretty focused in and played hard. And, you know, that's what I hope our guys would do, just be really focused on the game and play hard. And like I said, I mean, I don't – it's all about the game. It's all about playing, you know, the players on the field. And the rest is, I think, kind of overdone.
Going back to their game with Stanford, Stanford's known for their physicality and just maybe over the long haul of the game, they just kind of wear teams down. Do you think that was a factor as well?
I don't necessarily think they wore them down. I just think Stanford, you know, they have their style, which is different than most, and they're really good at their style. Like USC is really good at their style. And it was a hard-fought game on both. That's what I think. It's really two good teams going at it that I think are, you know, elite teams in this conference. I really do. And I think it could have gone either way, and Stanford did a good job of maybe making a couple more plays. But, I mean, I think it was a really good physical game on both sides.
It's your first game on grass. Can you do anything to prepare for that? Do you have to do anything different?
You know, I think there's certain grasses that are a little bit different. But in watching all this tape, I haven't really seen a guy slip. You know, I haven't seen much slipping, I should say. I think we slip on the turf ourselves out there. I don't think that's going to be a big factor. It's very hard for us to go anywhere else when we, you know, with the class. We're going to miss 2 days of school. And so for us to, you know, too hard for us to pull our guys out of class to go practice on grass.
Anything else from anybody?
Guys going home, Chris, is that,
Yeah.
does that end up being a distraction at all?
We make a point about it. We talk about it, that it can't be a distraction. It's got to be a bonus, a positive thing to go play in front of their family. A lot of the families will be there. That's awesome. They get to see their family. But it's also, I mean, this is a business trip. You know, this isn't a break. This isn't a long weekend that they're going home. They're going down there to play a football game. Their family gets to, maybe a lot of their friends get to attend it, and we just got to keep this in mind. We got to get our tickets done early, make sure that's out of the way, that they're focused on their preparation.
Friday night, where they see those guys at the hotel or whatever?
Yeah, so we have our meetings, you know, in the evening time. There's usually a couple hours between meetings and the time they go to bed that families can come by and see them and all that. That's awesome.
The Thursday night issue for you, a big one or a little one? I know you can't do anything about it, but
yeah. The time I always really thought it was an issue, and I think I've only done this one time, is when you play on Saturday and then have to play on Thursday. That's hard. That is really hard. And that doesn't seem right. Such a short turnaround for these kids with everything they got going on, and just to prepare them and to recover and all those things. You know, other than that, for us, you know, we're going to miss 2 days of school. Now, you talk to the basketball guys, 2 days of school, huh? I mean, those guys are gone all the time. But it's a big deal for us to go miss 2 days of school because, you know, we play on the road. We might miss a class or two, depending on what time we leave. But, you know, we're kind of in and out. And, you know, Thursday night games, there's a balance. You know, it's great to be seen by a lot of people, but there is a price for it.
good.
Okay. All right, thank you, guys.